make sure that. Okay. Oh, welcome to the Casual Adventure Notes podcast, the Ken podcast, lazy, easy listening about little life's adventures.
And lessons.
I'm Daz.
I'm Devy.
All right, let's kick off with our palate cleanser today. I think we're going back to an old favorite. Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so we're back on the 101 things I learned in psychology school. So do you want to pick a number, Daz?
Let's go with number 22.
I think because we're quite in such the early stages, we don't really need to remember what numbers we've done, but at some point we're probably going to have to, otherwise we're going to repeat the same ones. 22, yeah? All right, so 22, the womb isn't a neutral environment. Cortisol, a hormone produced in the adrenal glands, helps regulate many critical aspects of the body, including metabolism, blood sugar, and sleep-wake cycles. It is also linked to stress. When you sense a threat, cortisol is elevated, curtailing some functions and redirecting energy to critical areas. After the alert has passed, cortisol levels return to normal. Cortisol production ebbs and flows through pregnancy to accommodate fetal development. When a pregnant woman experiences physical or emotional trauma at inopportune times, cortisol may be inappropriately elevated, increasing the risk of miscarriage or otherwise harming the fetus. Studies suggest a more on-edge baby may result with an increased likelihood of mental illness later in life. Recent research indicates that genetic mutations naturally occur in the womb, even in the absence of trauma. While they affect a small percentage of an embryo's genetic makeup, they may lead to marked differences in eventual emotional and physical health. And then on the left page, there's a graph, and it talks, so essentially it's a bar chart, and it's got the percentages on the, this is testing my maths memory. On the y-axis is like percentages from 0 to 100, and then on the x-axis, which is the horizontal line, it has a whole bunch of like illnesses like diabetes, alcoholism, autism. And then on the top it talks about greater genetic influence, greater environment influence. So I think it's almost suggesting that a lot of the percentage of getting a certain illness, such as autism, diabetes, or stroke, is actually largely linked to genetics. That was a very long one and a very medical one, but I think it's almost saying like that in like when someone is pregnant, the environment when the fetus or baby is developing, I guess the factors that affect the person, whether it's stress, emotional, physical trauma, has a direct, I guess, influence in how that baby or fetus forms and later their behavior and their subjectivity to certain illnesses and disease.
Okay, so they're basically saying there's correlation that happens to a mother while they're pregnant, and they could impact the life that they're giving.
Yeah, and sometimes, and then I think the graph on the left really sort of infers around like that a lot of things that we have, whether it's I think it's probably proven like diabetes. It's an aspect of nature, not nurture, more than anything. So if your mum had diabetes or your dad had diabetes or so forth, then it's likely that gets passed on from each generation. Whereas, I guess you can get diabetes, through the natural way by overeating or under eating sugar. Yeah.
So funnily and quite relevant to this, during my doom scroll at the moment on social media, I just got served a fact. I think it's a fact. I haven't fact checked it, but it sounds right. So you know how in dogs they say that mixed breed dogs are more like generally healthier than purebred dogs?
Yeah. Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah. So they say like a mutt, which is like a mixed breed, you are breeding out like
Genetic diseases.
Yeah. So it's like a more superior genes because they're more set up for survival.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess with dog breeds, because you have the very, what they call purebred, and there's like a certain pool to keep that, that purebred lineage. You have to breed the same pool of dogs, and if one of them is carrying a certain, like a genetic disease, like a heart murmur or something, it's going to pass it along because it's in a smaller pool. Whereas, if you're mixed, breeding, I like to call them mutts, but, a mixed bred dog, there's two bigger pools of animals. And so you can be a bit more selective of choosing the one that's, healthy and breeding it against another one that's healthy. And then you get healthy puppies in most, in like probability case. Sometimes you just can't help things. Who knows, like how far in the lineage and genetics and ancestry that, maybe there was something that was not passed on to that specific dog, but maybe its grandpa had it, but hasn't appeared in, that particular dog that's being bred for its puppies. It's getting very like, what's that show that like goes back to like people's like, ancestors and, where they originated from? I can't remember. It's like, Who Do You Think You Are or something. I can't remember. It was like a show on SBS, and they would like examine people's lineage back to like, the early 1600s. It's actually quite fascinating.
I'm just going to say the math is mathing based on everything you just said and force my agenda. So back to what I was about to say. I was using dogs as an example because I think that was more common knowledge around this. But there was this video basically about a girl who was a Asian. So Asian is like a slang for like white and Asian. So like a mixed race, human person. And then she's like, I'm having an identity crisis. Asians are telling me I'm not Asian enough. Caucasians think I'm fully Asian.
Oh,
I go back to the Asian countries and they think I'm like so westernized. And but in Western countries, they tell me to go back to my country. That's a whole different other thing. But then it ends with, but hey, do you know what science has on me? Studies suggest that Asians are generally perceived as more attractive generally, and it makes sense from a science and biological point of view because you breed out bad things like you do with dogs. So then you end up having like enhanced genes.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference between humans and dogs is, as humans, you select your partner based on love. You're not like doing a health screen test beforehand, whereas a dog, dogs are like, the owners are like, is your dog healthy? All right, let's get them together and arrange a relationship. But I get your point there, and her point.
I think in relationships, love should trump all. But let's be real, in some cultures, in some circumstances, it's not always the case.
True. I think that's like Nicholas Spark movie. There's always like some loved one that's like
oh yeah, that's like the social economic things. Oh, there's like a whole thing, especially prevalent in Southeast Asian countries where you do marry on social economic status. Like you shouldn't be courting someone that is considered beneath you on a social economic level, and you would bring like dishonor to your family. So all those like K-dramas and TV shows that you see where, the poor person and the rich person falls in love and stuff like that, that's kind of like based on some truth, because the family around it and why everyone's so against it. That's like literally based on like real stories, which is insane.
That's like, as in like the modern age, like today's age.
Even today.
Oh,
even
wow.
today.
Because like even like the royal British family, like Prince Harry and Prince William, like they marry non-royal equivalents.
I think that was a big deal. That wasn't
my
the
point
whole
is like
thing.
that's like the highest level of like what you call it, like socio-economic titles and stuff. But the fact that it's like happening at like non-royal level means like and today is like quite non-progressive.
I think it's just not
Really?
like in the media or covered as much in the media. But think like big CEO, big corporations that take over the world. If there's like, natural like inheritance gonna happen, like they don't want them marrying like
I think it's like almost like you want to marry an equivalent or like better, so then the next generation is no like dilution of wealth or maybe
I think there's also that fear
title.
like they'll like run away with money or whatever, like the whole gold digger thing. But yeah. Anyways, let's go on to our main course today.
hopefully not medical related because I've got like
I failed science in school. There's no way.
I don't know whether any of that made sense or whether like I'm just good at spitballing stuff because anyway, did it make sense to you or sound legit?
I think it made sense. I made the maths make sense in my head.
Okay, all right, that's good. Anyway, sorry.
Main course. So speaking of food, ask me what I had for lunch today.
What did you have for lunch today?
I had instant noodles, but I made it really pretty and really yummy by adding things to it. So
You pimped it up. That's what
I
you mean.
pimped it up. I added cheese and an egg, and I had frozen fish balls that I bought with it. And then I served it in those popular gold dishes that like you see in K-dramas that they eat out of. It was the best.
Oh yeah, is that the one where like I've seen them where they use the lid as like the serving, like the plate to like hold the noodles on? That's like
It's such a vibe.
it's so. I would never thought to use it for that purpose, but it's one less thing to wash, I guess.
I love it. Instant noodles is literally part of like my like a common rotationary meal that I have. It's easy, it's yummy, it's definitely bad for you, but it's so quick and easy and there's so much variety. I grew up with it because one, it's cheap, and two, it's easy when you're in a rush, and you can pimp it up so it actually tastes good. So, for example, I have very fond memories. Do you know mee goreng, the Indomie instant noodles? It's the dry instant noodles.
Yeah, I didn't actually start eating that until like a lot later. But I always used to hear it like as the sort of very popular instant noodle, and even like with like Western like people, they would be like mee goreng, mee goreng. But I actually didn't have it till like much later in my life. But yes, the dry noodle. What flavor is it again? Like what's
Mee goreng is a flavor.
Oh, it is a flavor.
Yeah,
okay.
mee goreng is like street food noodles that you would get in Indonesia, which makes sense. It's like fried noodles. It's heavily inspired by the Chinese noodle, chow mein, I think.
Chow mein. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like heavily inspired by that, but it's like the Indonesian version of it, and it's like fried. And it's kind of like the same appeal of how I eat instant noodles today. It was attractive because it was quick, it was easy, it was filling. You can just add to it. So there's like evolved versions of it now. And then it was already easy to begin with, and then they made it easier when they released the instant packet of dry noodles like mee goreng. I have really fond memories of it because my mum, it was one of my favorites. I really love noodle soup today, but like when I was a kid, I was obsessed with just like dry noodles for some reason. So that was just like one of my hyperfixated meal that I ate when I was little. But my mum's, trying to be a good parent. And she's like, you can't just have instant noodles for every meal. That's not healthy.
You need your protein and your
So then she
veggies,
started
blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
phasing in toppings. And then this is how I learned how to pimp on my noodles. So with fried dried noodles, what she used to do was, because I was semi-picky of an eater, I'm a better eater now, but she used to shred like carrots, like heaps of carrots, to add volume to the noodles so that she wouldn't have to put as much like of the salty egg noodle.
Or dilute it a bit more.
Yeah, she definitely diluted. I didn't know full flavored instant noodles until I was a lot older, and then I realized that my mum had only been putting in like half the packaging in all my noodles every time she made it. Like, had no idea. I think it was her way of like trying to say like, oh, I'll reduce it a little bit. She wouldn't know, and I didn't. I had no idea. So that was like a flavor bomb for me when I grew up. But she used to shred carrots in it to get me to eat veggies. So that's like a favorite of mine now. And then like over time, as I got better with eating, she would add other veggies. And then when I was willing to eat my protein, she'll add like meat to it and stuff as well. And then when I started getting to noodle soups, if I wanted a quick meal and stuff like that, or she wasn't home, she'll like just like have like sliced beef for me or something like that. She's like, I'll boil it with like your tom yum noodles or something like that.
Yeah, tom yum was like my favorite. The
silver
shrimp,
one.
the shrimp flavor. Yeah, it's like that sourish.
Sweet and sour.
Nice, but it's actually, I didn't like growing up. Like I also ate instant noodles, but it was always plain. It was never with any condiments or toppings, and I think I didn't actually eat it that much as well because I think my parents were like, oh, it's like, you know, a lot of preservatives and etc. And I assume it is because it's like long lasting food. But it wasn't really till later, and I particularly now, you know, when it's like busy at work, you know, it's such like an easy, delicious thing to make, and it's become so popularized now where like you have restaurants that literally sell on their menu, like, you know, not tom yum, but like mee goreng or some noodles, and they'll add like, you know, their own like condiments and toppings just so they can charge a premium for what is instant noodles.
Yeah, it's common. I don't know if it has been around forever, but in Korea in particular, there's like unattended shops where they have just instant noodles where you just like pick whichever one you want.
Self-serve.
And then you put like toppings and then you just pay for that. Because it's like a quick meal and stuff like that. And then in their convenience stores as well, when they sell instant noodles, they'll have like a kettle of boiled water or whatever so that you can make it in store as well.
That's right. I think in Japan, like, I mean, they do obviously instant noodles as well, but I guess it's like instant ramen. They maybe call some of their that's more a common phrase they call it. But there was like those Michelin star places, Michelin ramen places, and they made their own instant noodle versions. And I remember having them, and they're actually like super delicious for what is like, you know, $2 for, you know, the instant noodle version of a ramen.
You'd hope the Japanese get it right, because I'm pretty sure instant noodles, instant ramens like started in Japan. Like I think they found how to preserve noodles.
The technology for the dried noodle and then the dry little condiments. Yeah.
I don't know who the first was to create instant dry noodles. I just know that mee goreng is the one that blew up. And I don't know how, and I don't know the full story of how they blew up. But I know part of their reach was the fact that they have gone global, and I think that's contributed to their success. They're kind of a later instant noodle though. I'm pretty sure they only Indomie, the brand, I think has been around longer, but mee goreng, the flavor and the dry instant noodle, like that range, that is probably their most popular noodle. It came out, I think, in the late 1980s or 1990s. Like it wasn't that long ago, which I don't know if that means that's why people in that generation are quite biased, because that would be the thing that we've grown up with and then are consuming. And I think it's still popular today. I mean, for me, I remember it back from like when I was a kid and eating it, like because my mum would make it. It is also heavily associated as a great like food that you would eat when you're drinking with friends or hungover or really, really drunk. Like it's just really yum.
Yeah.
Because it's greasy and it's like it ticks all the boxes.
Okay, all right. So was just searching up like the first instant noodle, although it's technically like the one I googled was like first ramen served in a cup, and that was that cup noodle brand. So I'm sure everyone knows it. It's literally that's the brand name in like that little cylinder package, and it's called cup noodle. And they actually have like a museum. I think it might be like in Osaka, and where you can actually, where they actually go through the history. And I think the whole premise was like that cup noodle was invented as food for astronauts. Because I think when that was invented was back when every country wanted to go to space and go to the moon and explore, everywhere outside of Earth. And so that was a really easy way to, have preserved but delicious food that the astronauts could live off when they were in their spaceship. But that whole museum is actually really quite fun because you can design your own cup noodle where you can choose like the flavoring, the condiments, and you can even like design the cup itself. So I think you literally sit on a table and like with markers and just draw up things, and then they literally, once you have the cup done, they like you choose everything and they put it in and then they seal it up, and then technically you can like cook it up at home. So it's actually a really worthwhile visit if you're in Japan, Osaka.
It's such a novelty, but I would like buy right into it.
Yeah. And I think the one thing I remember was like you see all these like little school kids come out, and because the cup noodle, they'll pack it in this airbag. So it looks like this little mini like air purse, and like this, it's like a little school bag, and it was actually really cute. Like they're all coming out with their little cup of noodles protected in this bubble bag, essentially.
Japanese packaging is actually insane.
Yeah, it is. I think, they really love to package stuff. Like, it's about the experience for the consumer. Like, if you buy like even like a piece of chocolate, like it's like nicely wrapped, and then sometimes if it's a nice chocolate, they'll like give you like, even if it's a single block. I remember like they gave like a little block of like ice bag to keep on the chocolate, so then it would preserve its integrity. And then they would also walk you out with the bag and like bow like so many times. It's like so it's so over the top, I guess, compared to like what I see in Australia, but maybe that's just the Japanese way.
Yeah. I was just trying to look up who the first dried noodles was, and I can't find it. It's so hard to find that in a short amount of time. It's very specific
though. Can you say first instant noodle?
Yeah. But I found something interesting, which I actually remember hearing about a little bit. So I'm just kind of fixated on mee goreng, I guess. But their story is actually really insane because so them as a company, they were originally by a different food group. I think it was like P something. I can't find it. It was one of the largest Indonesian food like distributor group in Indonesia at the time, and they were dominating the instant noodle market. But then they had like one big competitor that was like the equivalent that did the same thing and also had instant noodles. So they were like competing in the same market basically. And they were always kind of going up and down of who was kind of winning because they had very different advantages. Like I think sometimes it was on price, sometimes it was about how fast they could manufacture. But then from a business point of view, they realized that if they worked together, they could just dominate the whole market in general. So then there was like an agreement along the way.
A monopoly, yeah.
To have a monopoly. And then like the two, I don't know if they were owners, but they were like significant people in their respective business. They joined forces and then they ran this really successful business for a very long time. And then I think it was in the 1990s, there was like an economic crisis. I don't know if it was worldwide, but it was definitely in Asia.
The Asian financial crisis.
Yeah, that one. And then the company that wasn't the original mee goreng company swooped in and took advantage of that and restructured and basically manipulated in a way so that he would have majority of the company and then push the other guy out. So then he became the owner.
Oh God. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's very.
I think if you look it up, it's not as like spicy. Like they're just like, oh, like this happened during like this period of time during
We
the economic thing.
restructured our organization.
Yeah, but if you actually like think about it, he kind of screwed the other guy over. And that happens so much in business. It's so sad.
Yeah, it's like the movie House of Gucci. You know, that's probably even more like more juicy because like that involved like murder and
say more.
So I mean, so Gucci is now owned by I don't know what it's owned by like a what's the word? Conglomerate.
You're supposed to be the smart one.
Anyway, it's owned by this larger company, but before it was a family business, and it was owned by like the Gucci family, and I think before it sort of went, in the crapper and everything. So what it is now, it was owned by like I think there was two brothers, and the brothers had like kids, and then when one of the brothers died, the son sort of inherited the sort of shares, and then that son, I understand he sort of got married to someone, and then him and his wife essentially tried to take over the company. And I think they did that. And this is, again, based on the movie, which there's probably some level of dramatization. But they essentially, what they did was they sort of dobbed in their uncle, that older brother, for like tax fraud. So he ended up going to jail. And during that time, him and his wife took over Gucci. And I think it was through buying like shares through that uncle or that uncle, brother, whatever, but he's like kids' shares, so they would have majority. And then separately to that, the sort of married sort of wife and husband, who are now sort of the majority share owners, he ended up wanting to divorce his wife, and then his wife got obviously didn't want that to happen, and so allegedly before they got divorced, and he was actually going to get remarried, and then I think she knew that once he got remarried, she would lose like out on like spousal supports, and then she orchestrated for him to get murdered. And then through that all, during that time, because of the personal drama that was happening, the company pretty much was not doing well, because it went from what was a very successful business to making a loss, and they ended up selling it to a company. Like I think originally sold a portion of it, so they still had like the Gucci family still had ownership, and then they ended up selling entirely, and then they pretty much like lost complete control of that, and now it's owned by some big conglomerate. I think that's actually the case for a lot of the brands now. Like they're not really owned by the original families that founded it. It's all now owned by, big businesses that have purchased it as part of their collection of brands and businesses.
Because of similar reasons, like family drama?
So, I don't know, because I haven't seen any other movies about it. But in some cases, it's a case where, as a family-run business, there's so much that they can take the business. Whereas if you have like a bigger company that has, international resourcing, has, they hire people, because a lot of family businesses, they do hire based on, what's the word again? Nepotism. Yeah. Where it's because you're related to the owner. I guess with businesses, they hire a lot more based on merit, who's going to like drive the business, make it profitable. So a lot of times there's so much that family can do with, bringing it to, the mega billion-dollar valuation successful company. And so at some point they just decide to sell, and then that company then makes it, what we see today is, like Louis Vuitton or, Dior. I think there's only a few real brands that are still like privately owned. Like I know Rolex is still privately owned, and I think that might be it actually.
So I don't expect you just to be able to drop them from the top of your head.
That was actually a bad explanation of House of Gucci. So go on Wikipedia and read the synopsis because there's so much stuff that I can really go through. But that was the gist of how it related to your early point around, these sort of family businesses or private businesses that are owned by companies and the sleuthing and the scheming that happens in the background, which I didn't actually know that about Mirroring because there's no movie about it, but maybe they'll make one now.
Well, it's weird that you told that story because it's true. We don't know. Hang on, I need a cough. It's funny that you say that because I guess technically we don't know what goes on under the cover either. So just because he might have screwed someone over, it could have been with good business intentions. Like what if he was the right leader and needed the right power to take the company further? Like who knows if it could have meant that it would get run down later. Like you never really know because you hear a lot of those stories and like the human side of you is always going to play into the whole like how dare they screw each other over like that? How dare you let business win? But I guess business is business for a reason. It's a weird line that you got to find balance in. The other story that kind of went around this year, it might have been earlier this year or last year. In the US, there was a sriracha shortage.
The chili sauce. That's like
the very
used
famous
in like every single store.
Yeah, so the sriracha sauce, the famous one is the
Rooster one?
The Rooster one. I forgot what it's called. I just know what it looks like with the green lid.
I thought it was just called sriracha. Was it actually a brand name for it? It's not sriracha.
I don't think sriracha's trademarked, which I think it was like part of it because now there's all these other brands that have their own sriracha sauce, and I have a feeling they all call it sriracha as well because it's not trademarked.
Okay. I always associated that as sriracha, the brand, but okay.
But they were the dominant thing, and then the way the media portrayed it creatively, it was like they're like, oh, it was also due to a falling out between two business owners, and essentially the main guy that produces the sriracha sauce only had like one supplier for all the chilies. And it was just kind of like a gentleman agreement.
Also no like verbal, so no written contract.
Allegedly. I'm sure there was some, agreement. But like they've been like partners for the longest time. And then I think the sauce guy basically just said, oh, you need to reduce your costs for me. And the farmer's like, no, you can't do that. Or it could have been the farmer wanted to expand and then the source is like, no, you have to be my exclusive supplier or something like that. There was kind of like disagreement between the two and then it caused a rift. And then apparently the shortage happened because sriracha had such a specific taste, a specific color because it was from one supplier originally. Yeah. So if you don't have that anymore, one, you're going to have to find new suppliers and do all those negotiations again. And you have to do all these like quality controls to like keep that flavor consistent. So that's like a headache to be able to produce that sauce regularly again. And then he screwed over both sides because then the farmer had to go find new customers and figure out what to do because he would have been forecasting and cropping to prepare for that as well. Yeah. So that kind of blew up last year or this year.
It's so funny, like particularly with whether it's sauces or particular foods where it remains the same for so long that it even like a slight change in difference, like you said, in the color or the sweetness or the saltiness, like people will pick up on it because it's been like the same for however long. Like I'm trying to think of an example. Like McDonald's like fries, I guess. Like the fries have really not changed. Like I haven't remembered there being any outrage on them changing the salt or the formula or the oil. Actually, maybe they changed the oil probably.
But yeah, fun fact, it used to be beef oil. The fries from McDonald's used to not be vegetarian. Oh. And then because not everyone can eat beef, eventually they had to update. But because it was such a distinguishable flavor and iconic to the McDonald's thing, they worked really hard to do a blend of oil to mimic that beef flavor that is so distinct. Because don't you think McDonald's fries taste different to other fries? They're my favorite fries.
Maybe that's why I never noticed or remember noticing, because I find like a lot of like good restaurants that do fries, it tastes very similar to McDonald's, and I'm that's a compliment in a sense, like for McDonald's, because like sometimes these are like, you know, fine dining places, and you know you get your bowl of fries because
maybe it's deep fried in beef oil.
Potentially, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of these are French places, so they do like you know, using duck fat and all those sorts to make things tasty. But yeah, I didn't really ever. For me, McDonald's, yes, it's quintessential McDonald's, the fries. But I didn't realize the taste was like they even changed anything. But when was this changed exactly?
Oh, like years and years ago. Like I wouldn't know I don't know the whole McDonald's history.
Maybe
sorry.
it was like before my time. That's why I didn't notice, because I didn't get to experience the
They
beef
localize some of their menu items and stuff like that. Like I noticed, for example, the fries might be a little bit less salty in some countries that aren't used to such a higher sodium intake. But overall, the flavor profile I find is the same.
Oh my God. That actually reminds me, like, when, you know, going to like different countries, like I love to go to their equivalent of, you know, McDonald's or KFC, just to see what the difference in taste it is. Like in Japan, they have such, I mean, like obviously very more like Asian palated flavors. Like there'll be a teriyaki chicken burger. They do like an ebi burger, which is like the prawn, like crumb prawn one. I think the nuggets and fries are very similar, but they have like such really like cute like Happy Meal equivalents where it's all based around like anime, whether it's like Hello Kitty, Gudetama, you know, that lazy egg that is just pretty much just lazy. And then they have, I think their drinks are like, I mean, again, obviously being Asian, maybe that's why it tastes my palate, but they have this melon flavored soda I love getting there. It's like so delicious. It's like this green. It's almost like have you had it before?
Yeah, it's like bright fluoro green.
Yeah. It's almost like a creamy soda, maybe taste, but like a melon creamy soda, essentially, but delicious. Yeah. If you're in, I think a few Asian countries have it, but if you have it, if you go there, McDonald's, try the melon soda. It's delicious.
Have you heard the McDonald's conspiracy about how every time you see stuff online that has like McDonald's in it, even though it feels like a random person producing that asset, it's actually McDonald's just like intercepting. So for example, in Reddit, like, which is just a community forum with like user generated content, like there'll be like a meme about Macca's fries, but it wasn't produced by McDonald's. Like it just looks like the everyday person like sticking a McDonald's fries on the picture, and it's like subliminal
messaging or advertising. I don't know. I think McDonald's is just so widely loved and mainstream and so common to a point where it's just everywhere. I mean, isn't the whole business model like having multiple McDonald's locations everywhere so it's accessible and, you know, affordable? And,
yeah, that's part of it for sure.
Yeah. Although, would you like wear McDonald's merchandise if they like started selling like? Actually, I think they did actually like sell like socks based off their original characters. What are their characters called? The Hamburglar, Ronald McDonald, Grimace, and there was a bird.
Birdie.
Yeah, a bird.
Birdie.
And then was it Birdie? It was like the one that wore the pink jacket. Yeah, It kind of looks like a duck more than a bird. I guess a bird is a duck a bird or a bird a duck?
Oh, I muted my mic. Sorry. It was a bird. Its name was literally Birdie, so I assume it's a bird.
So original. What was that? It was Grimace, Birdie, Ronald McDonald, and the Hamburglar. So those 4 characters. Okay.
I think so. I don't really remember. I kind of remember them.
I think these days they don't really. Those characters or the mascots aren't really prevalent anymore. It's just Ronald McDonald now, and then just the big M arches. I think that's like the branding.
They did that grimace shake. That was like a whole
Did
thing.
they?
I think
I
it was in the
remember that.
US. They did a promotion. It was like the grimace shake.
What flavor was it?
I don't know.
Taro?
I didn't eat it.
No.
I didn't drink it. I think the characters are still around, but I don't think they're as like.
They're kind of like, I'm just looking at your screen. They're kind of a bit scary looking a little bit.
Yeah.
no offense, McDonald's. It's it's almost like in between like a human and an animal. So that's maybe why it looks a little bit, okay.
Well, back in the days, it was common for characters just to be in like big costumes, so it makes sense why they would like look like that. Anyways, I think it is time to wrap it up because we are at time. So let's go through our dessert. So gratitude for the week, things that we're thankful for, either recently or just something off the top of our head that we would like to call out.
Oh yeah, I know. So mine was like just I had like a a virtual meeting, and it was in like sort of a big group, and someone that I didn't even know, because obviously you turn like your camera on in virtual meetings, just randomly messaged me and said, "Oh, you have really nice hair," and that kind of made my day. So that was my my peak for the week.
That's so nice. Compliments are nice. It makes people's days. People should do it more often as long as it's genuine.
I
And
know.
if you notice and you think about it, just say it out loud.
So if anyone also wants to compliment my hair, please do so in the comment section. I would very much appreciate it.
I'm thankful for a lesson that I think has helped my relationship with food over the years, which is don't reduce, don't less, just add. So
don't reduce.
Don't reduce, don't like take out, just add. So for example, protein makes you feel fuller. So if you're trying to eat less, then it's good to eat like high protein food. So you would add more protein, which means that you're more likely to be full before your next meal. If you're a big volume eater, then don't if you're just naturally wanting to eat a lot, then look for alternatives to fill your meal so that you're still eating a lot. So cabbage is really low calories, so you can like bump it up. I'll bring it back to the start. My mom used to mix carrots. Shredded carrots with mee goreng. So if I wanted a bigger meal, instead of making 2 packets of instant noodles, I can just add carrots to it if I wanted to make it a healthy alternative, and then I won't feel bad about myself. I won't feel bad for eating that much, and then it just creates this better relationship with food because you have goals that you might want to do. So I found it easier for me to add. So I'm thankful I picked that up early in my life and just applying it in general.
Very good. Useful tip.
And then meal prep, goals for the future, things we want to do that we want to just acknowledge and call out to make ourselves a little bit more accountable.
God, these are becoming harder and harder every time to think of. But I do like doing these. I think I'm going to try to in general eat a little less salt. I find like I over season everything, and just thinking on your point around how your mum used to only use half a pack of the seasoning when she was making instant noodles to lessen sodium intake. I'm going to try to do the same and be a bit more conscious and not ask for extra salt on everything I get in terms of like chips. I think that's sort of my habit. Extra chicken salt in this, extra salt in this, extra sauce in this.
Yeah, too much sodium is bad for your body. You won't like it over time. My goal is to drink more water. I was very good at one stage at like keeping hydrated. I used to drink like bottles and bottles of waters every day, but I found that I've like reduced that recently. So I want to get back into that habit. So if you're listening to this right now, go take a sip of water. All right. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. We appreciate you.
I think we're just both struggling with words today.
We really are. It's late. Don't blame us. Anyways, we'll see you next time. Bye.
See you later. Bye.